On this episode, we are back with our Disney Prep series, and in this episode, we talk must-watch Disney movies to get ready for your next Disney World vacation. Today's June 14th, 2024, and this is episode 676 of the Main Street Magic Podcast.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I am your host, Jeremy Stein, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely wife, Rhonda.
Hey, guys.
Make sure you check us out on the web at mainstmagic.com, as well as follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at mainstmagic. You can also find us on TikTok at MSM Podcast. If you've not done so already, head out to Facebook and search for the Main Street Magic community and ask to join. And if you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, you get brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. If you did not get those advanced dining reservations that you wanted so badly for Disneyland or Walt Disney World, don't worry, because Mouse Dining removes the frustration of booking Disney dining reservations, alerting you when they spot availability for your desired restaurant, date, meal, and time. Trust me, it works. It did secure a reservation for us for this weekend that Rhonda doesn't know about yet, so she'll be excited when she sees it.
Ooh.
You can visit msmfriends.com to use this free service. If you want to receive free onboard credit when booking your next Disney Cruise Line adventure, head out to mainstmagictravel.com and fill out a form for a free quote. We can book travel to Disney World, Disneyland, any Disney park throughout the world, Universal parks, cruise lines, or pretty much anywhere you want to travel in the world. So again, head to mainstmagictravel.com.
So today we are talking about must-watch movies before we go to Disney World. So we're going to go tomorrow. So what movie are we watching today?
I'm watching Princess and the Frog.
Again?
Yes. I think I will. But I would like to watch it. The past couple times, kind of getting ready to, because we're doing Tiana's Bayou Adventure, the annual pass holder previews, just started today as we're recording on Thursday. A little bit of rough start so far.
Yeah.
Virtual queues actually lasted for 2 hours.
Yeah, Rachel
Till
got one,
9.
so she's
Yeah.
headed there.
So she's headed on her way. So we'll have a reporter. We'll have eyes in the field there. But as of about 10:30, 10:45, the ride wasn't up yet. So we'll see how that goes today. Hopefully they can work out the kinks for when we ride it tomorrow. But
I got my nails done.
You did, yeah. And you got little Evangeline and Ray stars, didn't you?
I did.
I love it. So you got Tiana nails ready to go.
Yep.
So we're super excited. We got a real fun-filled weekend. I'm very excited
to that
for
I
it.
don't know about.
Yeah, and I'm excited for that to surprise you with a few things, and yeah, for us just to get to spend time together, which we don't get a lot. So do you know that we have not been in one of the 4 Walt Disney World theme parks since April 29th at Magic Kingdom?
Wow.
Now, we did visit Disney in May because we went to Typhoon Lagoon, right?
Wow.
And we stayed at Coronado. And we did Disney Springs. We did the drone show, but we have not been in one of the 4 main theme parks since April 29th. So I'm excited to get back to them. We're going to hit Magic Kingdom, Epcot. We got some fun dining, stuff like that going on this weekend. So that'll be cool. But before we get into the movies that you must watch before you go on your Disney World vacation, let's do this week's poll.
Oh, okay.
And the question was, which of the Disney resorts, as in like the whole area, have you visited? And I said, check all that apply. And then I threw in Disney Cruise Line and Adventures by Disney just for fun.
Oh.
So Adventures by Disney, based on our Facebook community, the Main Street Magic community, and that Facebook group, 1% of those folks that answered have been on an Adventures by Disney.
But people did.
Yes. Yeah, I think we had one. We'll discuss afterwards who I believe might have hit all of these.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Shanghai Disney Resort, 1%.
Wow.
Tokyo Disney Resort, 1%. Now, these are slightly skewed in the 1%. That doesn't mean that one person did it. You know what I mean?
That's
because
what I mean.
know for Tokyo Disney, for example, I know Logan has been there.
Yeah.
Clayton and Stephanie, I believe it was Tokyo Disney that they went to this past year.
Wow.
That we know. Hong Kong Disneyland Resort at 2%. Disneyland Paris, 9%.
Oh, we're getting higher.
Disney Cruise Line, 11%.
That's surprisingly low.
Yeah, some of y'all need to go cruising.
Yeah.
Main Street Magic Travel.
Absolutely.
We'll hook you up, Lookout Key. We're going to do our live stream tonight, our weekly live stream tonight at 7 p.m. it's not helping you today on Friday when you listen, but and we're going to talk about the opening of Lighthouse Point and Lookout Key.
Oh, speaking of
officially
that,
started sailing.
we can go in April on the
I'm
Fantasy
down. Let's go.
for 4 nights, and it stops at Castaway and Lookout.
Lookout, I would like, let's do that.
And
one.
it goes out
Is
of
that going to be our 2025 one then with our...
It can be. My girlfriend is going with her mom.
On the Fantasy?
Yes.
Let's take a look at that.
I meant to tell you.
Only we knew a travel agent.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Okay, so Disney Cruise Line only 11%. That was surprising. Disneyland Resort 25%.
Okay.
Here's what I think is most shocking. Walt Disney World Resort, which we are 99.9% focused on, and I would think that's where most of our listenership and social media following is from. Only 50% of the folks have been to Walt Disney World. Do you not find that as surprising?
Where'd the other 50% go?
I don't know, because here's the thing. You were allowed to answer more than one. This doesn't add up to 100%. You know what I mean? We weren't saying like which have you been to the most or anything. So that means that 50% of everybody that answered this question, which is, a couple hundred or so, only 50% have been to Walt Disney World. What are you guys waiting for?
I don't know.
And again, Main Street Magic Travel can book all of these. So what we were going to do today, and this has been on the list for a long time.
Okay.
But it's this prep series that we've been doing, and we've done, if you go back, we did, how to pick your resort, and, how to, I think we did one on dining. We've done them on what to pack in your park bag, what to pack for your trip in general. So this is like what movies that you could watch will enhance your trip. And what we did is we pretty much listed, not in full, but we pretty much listed all the rides that are associated with a Disney IP, a Disney movie.
Right.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that watching that movie will add more enjoyment to the ride. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So we'll kind of discuss those as we go through. And if we want, we could almost even rate them like 1 to 5. Like, is this a must-watch movie to enhance your Disney trip and maybe something that you're looking at? But
okay.
All right. So one of the things you look at to start is characters.
Okay.
And what movies will provide better character interactions, just say.
Okay.
And we're not going to go through all of those because, as we go through the list and we go, oh yeah, this movie, that character meets, and we can kind of talk about it more. But, I would definitely be familiar with the Fab Five, Mickey and Friends, especially now with the open of Mickey and Friends at Communicore Hall and Epcot. If you're going to Disney World and you don't know who Mickey and Minnie and Donald and Daisy and Pluto and Goofy and some of those are,
watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Yeah, watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, watch a couple episodes of those. You can get an idea of who they are, their personalities, and things like that. And as you go through, there's going to be different things. Like for example, Mirabelle. Does a meet and greet now at Magic Kingdom. So Encanto might be one that you want to watch. And we can talk about Encanto a little bit later as well. I'm thinking of a lot of the princesses, Cinderella and Tiana, Aurora, Snow White, Belle. A lot of these princesses and all you can meet within the parks. Jasmine, Aladdin. Sometimes the genie's out. Stitch. If you're more familiar with them, I think it helps. When you get to, I think, instances of a Mirabelle, who I think has a very, very distinct personality.
Yes, she does.
I think it helps to understand that personality if you're going to do that meet and greet.
Yes, I agree.
Now, the other side of that, the flip side of that would be, do you see folks who aren't familiar with characters wanting to do meet and greets? You know what I mean? If you have never seen Encanto and you're going to Disney, you have no idea who Mirabelle is. Your kids have no idea who Mirabelle is. You're probably not going to bother.
No, because remember when The Wish came out, the movie?
Yeah.
We walked past.
Yeah, and Asha.
And
I want to meet her now.
Now I do too.
Yeah, we ought to try and make a point of trying to meet her. Because but you're right. That's a great point.
I had
we
no
had
idea
no
who
desire.
she was,
right?
And I had no desire. So
I would put that on again today. That is a very underrated movie and an extremely underrated soundtrack.
Oh my
gosh,
that
soundtrack is as the children say, fire.
Oh, I don't know if they say that
they
anymore.
Don't. It's lit.
No, I don't know.
I don't know. All right. So, so we'll talk about characters as we go through. What about resorts? What do
you mean? Like resorts, like watch a movie for a resort?
Yeah. For example, while I don't think it's a necessity at most resorts, Art of Animation, depending on where you're staying at Art of Animation, I think watching and being very familiar with The Little Mermaid animated,
Okay.
right? Finding Nemo, Cars,
That makes sense.
and
Cars for
Lion
sure.
King.
And yeah.
Yeah. I think those can help
Yeah.
actually add to your enjoyment of enjoying those resorts, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially Cars because of Radiator Springs. And
Yeah.
like when when she gets to be by herself, she watches TV out in our living room and she just takes her phone and just throws it to the TV. And so she was watching all these like YouTube things, and this couple went and stayed at these Disney resorts.
That
And
was really enjoyable.
it kind of was.
I will be honest, and I don't mean
They were
to
very
interrupt,
young.
but yeah, they were young. They do not know a lot about Disney.
No, they did
They
not.
went and stayed, like I think it was around 5 to 6 consecutive nights in 5 to 6 different resorts. They touched on some other ones, visited some other ones. Normally, like my blood will boil watching those
Mhm.
because of the lack of like knowledge, but they were really enjoyable. We'll have to find out who that was. I
Yeah.
actually really enjoyed it, and it was so neat to watch this video and watch it through the eyes of people who actually don't know Disney well.
Yeah.
And how much they loved it. So that was really cool.
It
actually.
was. And they would do a magic rating and how magical it was, and depending on where they were staying. But one of the places they stayed was Art of Animation,
Mhm.
and they stayed in the Cars suite because that is his favorite movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was super cute because they actually watched Cars in their room, and it was super even cuter because like it panned where it showed part of the movie, and then it showed part of Radiator Springs
Yeah.
at the resort.
Yeah.
And he was like, look, we're here. And then they went for a cozy cone pool swim. And I was like, oh, wow. So going to, yes, I now, yes, watching a movie like
Yeah.
that would
I
really
I think Art of
enhance.
Animation is
100%.
one. All-Star Movies, you know, again, being familiar with the Toy Story characters, 101 Dalmatians,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, shoot, you've got over at sports, the Mighty Ducks. I don't think that's a necessity. You're not going to be
No.
lost, you know, but, you know, you
But
go to
if you
just
don't
say,
know what it is, it might like,
yeah,
go,
you should.
oh, that's cool.
And some of these you might just want to be familiar with is all. I'm not saying you have to sit down and watch,
Right.
you know, the entire Cars franchise, but
Oh,
it might
yeah.
not hurt to watch the first Cars movie
Yeah.
if you're staying in the Cars section, you know, in the family suites. But like, I don't think that you need to sit down right before your trip and watch Moana if you're staying at Poly. Maybe more
I
so
agree.
for the new tower rooms because there are so many hints to
really cool.
Moana and
Yeah.
that culture and all. But like, I don't think you'd be walking around Poly like, this is dumb. I wish I had seen Moana.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I agree.
So, you know, resorts, I think, again, I think there's more of a familiarity
Mhm.
with, you know, what that resort is. You know,
Yeah.
same thing. Knowing who the Three Caballeros are and maybe having seen Coco might add a little bit of enjoyment to staying at Coronado Springs because you're going to see some of those touches,
Right.
but you're not going to walk into Panchitos and be like, well, this store's stupid. I don't know who Panchito is. You know what I mean? But
Right.
if you are familiar with Three Caballeros, then you're going to be like, oh, I
Mhm.
know who that is. That's pretty cool. So just
Then you could
those
go
types
ride
of
the
things.
ride in Epcot.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to our first park at the Magic Kingdom. And the first three that we're going to start with are backwards because these existed as original ideas and rides prior to becoming blockbuster movies. Everything else we're going to talk about is the other way around.
Wow.
It was an IP. It was a movie first. It became a ride, an attraction, a show. We're going to start with Pirates of the Caribbean.
And this was a ride before it ever was a movie.
Right. For the young folks that don't know that,
That's crazy.
this was a ride first, right?
Wow.
And so you do want to look at watching some of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And I think these
Yeah.
are almost a necessity.
Yeah. 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 I can 100% agree on
I mean, if you look at things, right? So when you're going through Pirates of the Caribbean and the guy with the pigs, right?
Uh-huh.
He shows up in The Curse of the Black Pearl. When Jack and Will find Mr. Gibbs on Tortuga, he's sleeping off a bender in a pigsty with the pigs. They throw water on his
Yeah.
face. Like,
Super cool.
you're going to connect that
Yeah.
into the ride, even though
Yeah.
you're doing it backwards.
Yeah.
You know, because originally it went, you rode this ride a ton of times. They came out with the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and you went, I remember that from the ride.
Yeah.
Now, for kids, you know, they're going to go and they're going to ride the ride and be like, I remember that in the movie. That's pretty cool. They put it in the ride, even though they're wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now,
Right.
of course, Jack Sparrow, who is now in the ride, That
Right,
is
he
one
was-
that they updated and
Yes,
connected.
correct.
Yo Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me, the song.
Love it.
This appears 3 times in Curse of the Black Pearl.
Wow.
3 times at World's End.
Mm.
And you know the last words in On Stranger Tides that Jack speaks is, "It's a pirate's life for me." So again, those will be those little touches that you'll notice. And there's a heck of a lot more than we're going to talk about. In the prison as it's burning and the dog with the keys.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most noticeable, famous, and biggest marketing, images coming out of Disney World, Disneyland, and all of that. Curse of the Black Pearl. You actually see the dog in the keys right before the Black Pearl attacks Port Royal.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
Shows up in Dead Man's Chest. The dog appears again in a boat with Pintel and Ragetti after helping them escape from their cells.
Huh.
And then finally, his last appearance is in At World's End when he shows up as the keeper of the Pirata Codex keys on Shipwreck Island.
Oh.
And again, there's a lot more that you're going to notice.
Right.
So I think those nods are pretty cool. So you think, you think that's a pretty important one to... I'd at least watch the first one.
I would,
Black Pearl, right?
Yes, absolutely. I don't even know if we've watched all of them
I don't
from
believe we've seen every
beginning
single
to
one.
front to end, beginning
Yeah,
to
the whole.
end.
We have not
Whatever.
watched the whole franchise.
Yeah.
In order in a row,
Right.
and sat down and
Right.
watched them. Yeah,
I think we have somehow.
we've seen them all, but
Yeah. But not like that. But yeah, I think watching the first one for sure really is just perfect. You wouldn't have to watch any more, but you obviously could.
Yeah.
So
Let's move on to Haunted Mansion.
oh,
Another original idea,
Yep.
an original attraction that they have now based 2 very famous movies off of,
that's what I want to
Eddie
watch.
Murphy
the second
version.
one.
and then the newest one,
Yeah.
which is honestly one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, I really like that one. We need to watch that again.
Yeah. What do you think about those connections? Because with these, we're really looking at Easter eggs at this point.
Right.
You're going to go through the ride. If you've not been to Disney before, even if you have, and you just want to kind of put those connections, like if you're a huge Haunted Mansion fan and you have not seen the latest incarnation of the movie because for whatever reason you don't want to, you didn't think
Right.
it looked good, whatever, I would watch it.
Yeah.
If you're a big Haunted Mansion fan, there's so many Easter eggs
Mm-hmm.
in this movie. And again, now we're looking at it backwards.
Yeah.
If you've seen Haunted Mansion, the live action, whether it's the Eddie Murphy version or the newest one with Owen Wilson and Danny DeVito
Right.
and all, you're going to see all these different Easter eggs, right?
Yes. 100%. And when you see, I mean, I think the Eddie Murphy one is more, I guess, would be in your face with them.
I agree.
Whereas the
Let's
second
say
one,
it tried harder.
yeah. Whereas the second one is more of Easter eggs, where like I think somebody said something, and I was like, oh, and so I feel like I need to like, watch again and again and again.
Well, you pick out, you pick out things in the newer. I mean, again, the Eddie Murphy one, which I really enjoy. We both really enjoy that one. I think it's great.
It's super cute.
It is. It looks like a movie that Disney made based on a ride.
Mhm.
It really does.
There's nothing wrong with
No,
that.
not at all. If you had no idea Haunted Mansion existed as
Mm-hmm.
an attraction, and you went and watched the Eddie Murphy movie, and you thought this was just a movie that somebody just came up with, never, whatever, you would probably be like, yeah, this is very Disney. It's very kind of like, again, certain things are in your face. Like, oh, did they create these singing busts and these hitchhiking ghosts? Just like, why are they so in your face? Whereas
Right.
they're a lot more hidden. Like the Haunted Mansion, the most recent version,
Mm-hmm.
to me looks like a movie that was made to simply be a movie.
Yeah.
It looks more like they made the movie first and the ride second.
Yeah.
I think with the Eddie Murphy version, it looks much more the way that it was, which
Right.
was the ride came first and the movie came second.
Correct.
But, you're going to have hints, of course, major characters in Madame Leota.
Oh,
in both of
absolutely.
these.
Yes.
So you're going to want to know who Madame Leota is going into the ride. The hitchhiking ghosts.
I love that.
Not only the singing bus in the Eddie Murphy version when they're out in the graveyard, when he goes to find the
Yes.
key in that tomb, but you're going to have the bust in the library in the newer version of that follow you, right?
Yes.
You're going to get Mr. Gracie,
Oh,
right?
yeah. That's super cool.
in both of them.
Mm-hmm.
The Hatbox Ghost,
Mm-hmm.
right, is a major pillar of the newest movie.
Yes.
So different things like that. The bride shows up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there's all these things that you're going to go through that ride. So I would put this up there with that 1 out of 5. 5. If you only had one, which would you watch? If you only could pick the Eddie Murphy or the newest one, which would you do?
Oh, goodness.
As it relates to the ride.
Right. Probably the first one.
Really?
Yeah, I mean...
If you're going to Disneyland, it's an absolute no-brainer that you watch the latest and greatest one because of its basis in New Orleans and it being in Orleans Square and all.
Okay,
over
then
at
yes, I
Disneyland.
agree with that.
Yeah. I would go with the newer one.
Yeah.
It's overall, I think it's a better movie. And I do think that, I don't know how many Easter eggs are in the new one.
Yeah, that's true.
It's got to be in the dozens.
Mm-hmm.
And we've probably seen it half a dozen times. And I guarantee there's still ones that we're missing. Well,
I
bet half a dozen if we watch it today.
I think so.
We can ride Haunted Mansion tomorrow.
Yay.
Hopefully. Let's do that. Let's talk about our final ride came first, movie came second, The Jungle Cruise.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Emily Blunt and Dwayne The Rock Johnson. What do you think about this and as it pertains to the ride? I don't think this is a must to enjoy
but
or
it's
add
super
value
cute.
to the ride. It is. You're still going to get some Easter eggs, but I don't think it's a must to add value to the ride, right?
No. Absolutely. I mean, I was excited to watch The Jungle Cruise when it came out because Jeremy loves the ride so much and because of riding the ride. But I think just like you said, the movie looks like it was based on something else. It wasn't just a movie and then the ride came. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
yeah, what I would actually do is I would not watch the movie.
I think
prior to
I
your
agree.
first time on the
Yeah,
ride, I would do
agree.
this one in reverse.
I think I agree with that.
And the only parts that are truly, now there are some Easter eggs throughout. I mean, you even have a Trader Sam in the movie.
Yep.
It's a very different representation of Trader Sam, but it is Trader Sam. I would do the ride first if you've never done it. Then I would come home and watch about the first 15 to 20 minutes. Because that's the parts where he actually takes this group on his jungle cruise. That's where the jokes come from.
I'm like,
that's
then
where
what?
the backside of
Stop
well,
it.
keep watching it, but it really goes in an entirely different sci-fi realm after that. You know, but you're gonna get the jokes. You're gonna get backside of water. You know, those are where you're really gonna get the nods. But I actually think you have potential of ruining those jokes and those moments on the ride by watching the movie first.
Okay.
So I'd hold off on that one.
Okay.
So I will put it at a 1.
Okay.
But a 5 after.
Okay.
Talk about Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And, of course, derived from the movie Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a necessity, something to watch, to be familiar with?
No.
If you're not familiar with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, I don't know where you've been.
Right.
Your whole life. You're at least familiar with them.
Right. Because I cannot tell you the last time I've seen that movie.
I couldn't even tell you if I watched it in a
entirely
sitting from beginning to end.
I have. And it's one of those things where it's cute and it's fine. I would love, which I know they're doing, a live action.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that.
That'll be interesting.
The Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is one of mine, which is probably awful to say. Once I watched it, I was kind of a one and done. I didn't love Snow White.
I'll be honest. I can't do the voice.
Her voice.
I can't do it.
Her high little voice.
I mean, even
what
when,
if I talk like that all the time?
Oh, so glad
that's
you
not
don't.
even. That's not even like I
No,
can't even do
that's
it.
not even. That you just sounded like Snow White with a cold, which is better than the real thing. And you know, I mean,
it's real high.
It is. I can't really do it. But again, I think you're going to be familiar with the characters you're going to see. You're going to encounter Snow White. You're going to encounter the Seven Dwarfs. You know, you're going to encounter the Queen. You know, you're going to understand that these dwarves work in this mine.
Well, I think it's super cute because it's almost like the movie in a, 90-second ride?
Snippet, yeah.
Snippet?
And you get a lot of those, and we'll talk about a couple of those where the ride is a retelling of the movie.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily mean you don't need to watch the movie to understand it.
Right.
That'll also come down when you're looking at what you go through in the queue, what you go through if there's pre-shows. Like we'll end this off on we'll talk. Well, we'll get to that in the end. But Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. The one that you may want to find is Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, because that is when the Woozles and the oh my God, what are they called? The Heffalumps.
Heffalumps and Woozles.
Yeah, Heffalumps and Woozles are in Blustery Day, and if you were going to ride the ride, which I think is, I love the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the ride,
and then the rain and everything. Yeah.
You're going to connect with it more and understand more, like, what the heck is happening.
Right.
Did somebody slip me something before I got in here?
Oh gosh.
Like, what am I seeing? What is going on? It's like a bad trip. But I do think that it can make more connections to the ride. So it is one that I would potentially check out, you know?
Yeah. Because it's probably very short.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super cute.
What's next on our list?
Peter Pan's Flight. And you can watch Peter Pan.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a must at all. Again, I think this is back to saying Snow White. I think this is a snippet you go through. I think things like this, Snow White and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, Peter Pan's Flight, things like this, I think you'll go through, and this is where it almost makes you go, I haven't seen Peter Pan in a while. I think I want to watch it again.
Yeah, it's
I
almost
haven't seen Snow White. I think I want to watch it.
Yeah, so it's almost kind of like Jungle Cruise. You'd rather watch the movie after you go on the ride.
Correct.
Well, and Peter Pan's Flight is another one that I think does such a good job through the queue and through the ride of telling the story. You know, where you're, even if you don't even know who Peter Pan and Wendy, like even if you had no idea who those characters were, and most likely you do, again, unless you're a very young child and haven't been exposed to that, the ride is going to do a good job where I don't feel that you would step off and be lost in any way.
Right.
You will understand as the ride goes through and tells you exactly kind of what you're seeing. Same thing, Under the Sea, Journey of the Little Mermaid.
Yep.
This is a retelling of the movie. So I don't think that it's a necessity to
it's
watch the movie.
Right. Scuttle legitimately
tells you everything
the
in the queue.
Correct. Yeah. And then through the whole
throughout
ride.
the ride. Yeah.
So
now this is one where, you have an opportunity to meet Ariel.
Yes.
You go on this, right? You go on this ride.
Mm-hmm.
They just announced some more information on the new show coming to Hollywood Studios. You want to see that. You happen to be staying at Art of Animation and you happen to be staying in a Little Mermaid room. That's where you're going to want to watch the animated classic before going on your trip.
100%.
But if all you're going to do is ride Under the Sea, I don't think it's a necessity to
Correct.
watch this ahead of time. And you're probably going to be familiar with most of the characters. And if not, as you said, they're going to lay them out for you.
Yep.
Anyway, so let's move on to next. Enchanted Tales with Belle.
This I feel like would be a must watch before if you haven't seen Beauty and the Beast, only because of the way Enchanted Tale. Okay, try
you
that.
Want to start over?
Say that
let's
5
rewind.
times fast.
Go again.
Enchanted Tales with Belle.
Good job.
Is a different situation than it's not a ride. I guess you'd call it an experience.
It's an experience. It's a show.
Play.
It's everything.
It is, because
the only thing
you
it
can
isn't is a ride.
Right.
That's the only thing. You never sit in a ride vehicle.
Right.
So,
I would say so because you can participate. So, if you want to participate and if you, but if you've never seen it, you might be kind of like,
yeah.
What's going on?
Well, I think it sets up characters and what's going on really well.
Yeah.
It sets up that, Maurice is an inventor. And again, this is the animated one. This is based off the animated, not the live action.
100%.
Because, So Maurice is an inventor. It lets you know that, why is this furniture and
right.
Tableware and stuff talking? Why
Correct.
are there candlesticks and clocks talking? It sets that up for you. Why you're in an enchanted castle. And Beauty and the Beast is going to show up several times on our list here.
Yes.
So
okay.
I think it's an absolute must based on the amount of attractions and experiences and character meet and greets and all surround it.
And I would say to watch probably every single, I would say all of them should be animated. I don't think you would need or want to watch the actual live action unless you really want to, based on you like things like that, like I do.
Or you're visiting Enchanted Rose. I mean, I do think that if you're going to go to the Enchanted
That's
Rose to grab a snack, a drink, hang out in the library there, like
Which
I
is
do
in the
think
Grand
that's something.
Floridian.
Yeah, at Grand Floridian. But I think Beauty and the Beast is an absolute must. And, you know, and I'll just say right now before we go to the rest of the list, I would still put some of these on your list. You know, I still think it's not going to hurt to watch Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty and Little Mermaid and Lion King and Beauty and the Beast. And, you know, I think some of these classic animated Disney movies that, you know, we've seen over all these decades, you know, dating back to Snow White and all, I do think will add that value to
absolutely.
the park experience as a whole, especially when it comes to Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
You know, it's just understanding that entire world of princes and princesses and, you know,
and
magic.
Then I think depending too, if it's your children, obviously, I mean, then it's so neat because you watch all of this and then the children are watching them on TV and then see them in real life. And they're like,
that's a great point.
Holy crap. That's Cinderella. Yeah. I just watched her.
Right.
And they get so excited, as we have known from experience with our children.
Yeah.
And I mean,
and you bring up a great point with that because, you know, it's really easy to look at this and say, all right, us as adults, you know, here's what you would prepare for. But this list is so much more about kids and introducing them to the world of Disney. You know, I mean, my brother, who is the furthest thing from a Disney fan, but loves the park. I mean, he's loved when he's brought his kids and we've gone to Disney World and he appreciates it very much. I don't think there's a character almost on this list for the most part. Now, I mean, even he probably knows who Jack Sparrow is. He's not going to know who the Hatbox Ghost is,
right?
You know, or things like that. But he's going to know who all these characters are,
right?
But you would need to bring these to your children that didn't just grow up with this being pounded in their head and Disney and all. So we look at something like Mickey's PhilharMagic. Now, I don't think you should watch all these movies, but look at this. You know, Be Our Guest is featured in that from Beauty and the Beast, right? So it's going to be great. Go, I know this song. I can sing along to it. Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid. Here we are with another Little Mermaid reference, right? So if you're on that, I'm going to ride the ride. I'm going to stay at Art of Animation. I'm going to do the meet and greet. We're going to go watch, you know, PhilharMagic. Again, You Can Fly from Peter Pan shows up in this. You know, so I do think that some of those, again, it's a familiarity.
Yep.
The only one that a lot of people I think would be lost on is The Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia.
Yeah.
You know, that might be one that some folks, again, that hasn't been pounded into people's brains the way that A Whole New World from Aladdin has.
Right.
You know, and different things like that. So those are ones you might want to look at like, okay.
Right.
Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor.
Yeah.
Do you think, you know, that would tie much more to Monsters, Inc.? You know, this is really tying into the end of the movie when they get away from saying, you know what, laughs actually generate more power than scares.
Yeah.
So they redo the entire, you know, Monstropolis and Monsters, Inc.
Right.
And that's really when this takes place, is kind of after the, you know, the occurrences in Monsters, Inc.
Well, then, yeah, I think you just explained it.
Yeah.
Yes, you would need to watch the movie before, because if you go to see this and then watch the movie, you'd be confused.
You really would, because the movie would start off with them scaring.
Yes.
So I think it's neat to see that progression, and it's an
100%.
amazing movie.
It really is.
I mean, it's so good.
Yes.
What about Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger spin? Do you think there's any need to watch Toy Story movies to understand this?
Not at all.
No.
Everybody
knows who Buzz Lightyear is.
Right. I guess the only thing would be Zurg. But again, just like pirates, there's so many pirates. I think if you watch just the first one, if you just watch the first Toy Story, then you're fine.
Yeah, it's that same with Cars. You know, for any Cars reference, if you watch the first one, you get familiarity with those characters, with the world and what's going on. And I agree with Toy Story.
Yep.
Now we'll talk later if we think that you should watch some additional movies. Tron. Here is one that I will say, while the quote unquote pre-show and queue, there really is not much to it. I think I've never seen Tron.
And you've never watched it. I was going to watch it the other day.
Yeah.
But then I looked it up, and it's crazy because not only do you have a really old movie, which is like before we were born, I believe, was it?
I would have to double check on the year that it came out.
And then you have another old movie that I'm like, okay, never mind.
We're making a third one.
Else. praise God, because I mean, and that's
You're
just where
excited for a third Tron movie?
I'm excited because if you go back and look at the last two that were made, we are in that generation where we are spoiled of the animatronic, well, the all the stuff, not the animatronics, but
Does the technology of everything?
yes,
Yeah.
that's the right word I was looking for. Sorry, the technology of everything. I mean, even when we go back and watch, you could almost pretty much compare. Like, I know I'm going outside the park, but Jurassic Park, the first one, to the most recent, and the animatronics and the technology and the difference of the two.
Yeah.
So, I mean, think about the Tron. And I got after this, you had no desire. And it was one of those things where I was like, you know what? I don't want to, I have Bridgerton coming back out. I have some episode of things coming back out. I was like, I'll just watch a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a movie I was going to pick. And I looked between the two and I'm like, and I'm good.
You didn't want to watch the OG.
I didn't. And then I've already seen the other one, the second one. But again, I was like, I really kind of watched the little preview thing that comes up on IMDb. And I'm like, wow, I've already watched it. I'm like,
it sets it up. You know, the ride sets it up about what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, and what you're doing.
But the technology in the ride.
Yeah.
Is what
better
I'm
than the movie.
excited for the third one.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's when you'll put the two together, and I think you'll never need to watch any of the old ones.
Right. No,
so
that makes sense. You know what you can watch now on Disney Plus?
What?
With your Hulu subscription?
What?
Saw 1 through 7.
Shut the front door.
Isn't that crazy? I don't know. I'll tell.
We should watch it together, honey.
I've only seen Saw 1.
I know. I've seen some of other ones.
Love it. One of the worst acted movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know who just showed up in Stranger? I'm watching Stranger Things now.
I know.
You know who just showed up is the mayor. It was Carrie Ells, who is in the first Saw movie. Yeah, he actually. It's funny. I keep.
That was one of our dates.
People will show up
that long ago. You know that? Remember?
Yeah, back in Maryland.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I do remember.
Just checking.
And I loved the movie. I thought it was one of the most brilliant movies I have ever seen, with a twist that is hard to beat.
Yeah.
Outside of like The Sixth Sense and some
right.
To I don't know of a better twist in a movie that I've witnessed personally than in the first Saw movie. I actually do think I might have seen the second. It started, and I'd be interested to go back because my acceptance of gore in movies is much higher.
Yeah.
And it was much lower back then.
Right.
And so I think I actually could go back and watch the others. When I started to watch the second one, I was like, this is just too much.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm watching The Boys on Amazon Prime, I'm catching up on some. I'm watching The Boys. I'm watching Stranger Things, which is so good. That's my summer activity with
really?
What?
Wow.
Stranger Things is good.
I know. And I've watched it.
So Kayla and I just started season 3. We're actually about 4 episodes. We're already halfway through season 3. But I am enjoying so much more in season 3 the characters and the character development and the relationships than I am the story about the mind flayer and
100%.
All this other junk going on.
100%.
Like give me a Steve and Dustin and Robin like investigative buddy cop sitcom and I would watch that.
Yeah.
And you could never introduce a sci-fi character at all and I'd be like, who cares? Just put me at Ahoy, the Scoops, whatever place, and I would just watch them. Just
Scoops
all day,
Ahoy.
Scoops Ahoy. So I just thought that was interesting. But now the Festival of Fantasy Parade, Happily Ever After. This is just a general knowledge and knowing of Disney movies and characters.
Yeah.
You know, everything.
Because you never know sometimes who you're going to get on Festival of Fantasy, correct?
No, it's pretty consistent.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's been some times where, you know, it's passing by and we're trying to get somewhere or something. And I'm like, oh, there's, you know.
Because I don't think we sit and
Stitch
watch it enough. We don't sit and watch it enough to know from beginning to end, everything that it involves. It's been a long time since we just sit and focused. But again, I think that's knowing all the classic Disney characters in some of the movies. It's watching everything from Cinderella to Tangled to Moana to Snow White to Beauty and the Beast again to The Little Mermaid, Toy Story. I mean, all of those are going to appear in both of these. But I think they're done in such a wonderful way that at no point are you going to sit back and be like, well, I don't even know what this float is from. You're just going to be like, dang, look at that float. If you've never seen, if you have no idea what Maleficent's dragon is, you're not going to care when it comes rolling down the street. So let's move on to Epcot. And the first one that shows back up is the Beauty and the Beast sing-along. Now, I do think if you have not seen the animated movie, there's zero reason to walk into this. I understand that it is an additional telling from the point of LeFou, but you're going to have no idea what is happening whatsoever unless you've seen Beauty and the Beast animated, right?
I agree.
Yeah. So
you'd be like, you'd see this and then watch the movie and then be confused.
Very. Yeah. Don't see this first and then go watch the movie for the first time. So definitely want to catch up on. So Frozen Ever After. It takes place on the 1-year anniversary, basically, of the ending of Frozen. It's a celebration in Arendelle. Do you think watching the first Frozen is a necessity to enjoying Frozen Ever After?
No.
And if you haven't seen the first Frozen, I don't know where you've been your whole life.
I know.
My brother's probably seen that.
Yeah.
I know my parents have. That's who we saw it with.
Yeah.
So many years ago.
You should ask Alan.
Yeah. If he's
have
ever
you seen Frozen?
I'm sure he has with the kids at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they were younger, but
I don't think it's a necessity, but again, I think it's one of those where you'll ride it and you'll be like, "Oh, I'm gonna watch Frozen." I mean, again,
I don't think it's a necessity, but I do think it can add to the enjoyment of seeing these characters.
Yeah.
Again, and understanding, why is this blonde lady shooting out ice from her fingertips in front of an ice palace? Like, what's going on?
Well, I think it's great because, like, you can ride the ride and then you do have 2 Frozens. So, like, if you've seen the first one, but you haven't seen the second one, then you can, like, oh, now I'm ready to see the second one. But if you, like, you ride the ride and you haven't seen either one, then you could go, oh, well, I kind of now know that everything's fine and love thaws, but then watch Frozen and then watch Frozen 2.
Yeah,
so,
but definitely not a necessity.
No, I wouldn't say so. It's just fun.
Must you watch the 3 Caballeros before you go on Grand Fiesta Tour?
No,
not at all.
No.
It's an enjoyable ride regardless.
I don't even know if I've seen the 3 Caballeros.
I don't think I've sat down and watched it.
So, and obviously I've ridden that ride multiple times.
We've ridden that ride
I love
many times. I love it to death.
I just do. I try to look at all these different things, and sometimes I look up and try to look at different, look around, not especially depending on how many times I ride it. Then I'm like, oh, this time I'm gonna look strictly to my left, strictly to my right.
Yep. No, I agree. Yeah. And speaking of ones we've gone over, I mean, we just talked, Frozen Ever After, Grand Fiesta Tour. We've already talked Jungle Cruise and Pirates. The next episode, we are going to rank all of the boat rides in both Disney World and Universal Orlando and figure out where Tiana's Bayou Adventure fits in.
Okay.
Because that's one we didn't even talk about because it's not officially opened. But, watching Princess and the Frog prior to riding Tiana's Bayou Adventure, we'll see how much. I know, again, it's not a retelling. It is an extension of the story.
Right.
It is this Mardi Gras party. And so, again, I think being familiar with those characters will help. We're in Epcot, so, let's talk about the Encanto celebration that is just opened this past Monday that we're hoping to check out on Saturday. This is very much a sing-along. I think you're going to have a much better time because it's pretty much what we saw on the Magic.
Right.
And is on some of the Disney Cruise Line boats. Is being familiar with the songs, and being able to sing along and understanding who the characters, Mirabelle and Bruno are and why you're singing about them. I do think, first, I just watch Encanto. It's an outstanding movie. Yeah. Like whether you're going to Disney World or not, just watch it.
Well, if you're at Epcot, no. Well, if you're going to Epcot and you're going to Hollywood, I would go to Frozen Ever After or Frozen the Sing Along. Yeah. Watch that
before you have to ride Frozen After.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll talk about Frozen Sing Along here in a minute.
Yeah.
Let's move on before we get to that. Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, 1,000%, 5 out of 5. I would watch Ratatouille prior to your trip
Yes.
and riding this ride.
Yes.
Don't you agree?
100%. Because, I think you'd be confused.
Very.
I think you'd ride it, and if you haven't seen the movie, you'd be like,
why is this rat around food?
yeah, yeah,
Is this the way that Disney operates their restaurants? Because
yeah.
I don't know if
There's
I want
lots
to
of
eat
rats.
now. Yeah, it's just rats everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Cooking. Yeah, I think it's a must.
And it's
Again,
fun. I mean,
yeah.
it's super, like, you'll just, it's just, I remember watching the movie and then the ride was coming and I just was so super excited. And we actually watched it before the opening, just like, we're going to go ahead and probably put on Tiana after a little while. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I just think the whole area, the whole France pavilion and that whole extension that they've
That's
added
neat.
leading up to it, I think, it's just going to connect on such a better level and have
Mm-hmm.
a more of an understanding. And again, I think this is one that for children specifically is to have them watch this prior to riding Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, I think will make a big difference as well. Turtle Talk with Crush in the Seas with Nemo and Friends. Do you think Finding Nemo's a necessity? Because now the Seas with Nemo and Friends
really.
isn't exactly a retelling of the story.
No, it's kind of the story in a little nutshell.
It is, but it's not.
Because-
but it's not the same as a retelling. It's more. I'm trying to think of how to explain it because, all right,
It's
you
a
went-
movie in a nutshell.
yeah, if you went on this adventure and you came back and Nemo's friend or Marlin's friends were like, hey, where you been? What happened last week? This is kind of what you would tell them. It'd almost be, to me, it'd be much more of like, oh, I got some photos and some TikToks I made. Here you go. Here's us on the jellyfish. Here's me meeting Dory. Here's us getting chased by that giant fish with the light thingy on his head. Here's us going and meeting these turtles, but it's not, it's like the cliff notes of it as opposed to Under the Sea, which is much more of you can really get an idea of the entire story. You know what I mean?
Because Scuttle's telling it, whereas Friends with Seas with Nemo and Friends, nobody's telling it. You just have to know because you've seen the movie, because it starts out where he's like,
Nemo's there. He's hiding. They've come
Right.
back. They know each other. Everybody, they've already met Dory. They've rescued Nemo. So it is taking place.
well, because he says, have you seen my son?
Mm-hmm. And Nemo's hiding from him. Remember, Nemo goes and goes into the coral and all that.
But then they go try to find him.
Yeah. So this one, I
I
would watch
think
it.
I think it's a movie in a nutshell. Now I want you to
So
write
you
it.
don't think you
No.
need to watch the
No.
movie prior. And then Turtle Talk with Crush is just like, all right, here's this turtle's ate too many jellyfish, and now he's answering questions. That's another
Yeah.
one I want to do.
Yeah, you don't have to.
I don't think we're gonna be able to
see the
fit
movie.
everything in on Saturday. I want a real legit Epcot day. But
Listen,
we've
man,
got a lot
you've got
going
all the
on.
plans.
I do.
I have no idea what we're doing. I even
Yeah,
asked
we
you
gotta
this
get
morning.
beignets Saturday morning. That is on the list. On our way to Epcot, we're gonna walk from Riverside. We're gonna head to French Quarter. We're gonna get our beignets. We're gonna have our coffee. Then we'll hop on the bus and head over to Epcot. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Now, this does not take place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Nope.
Why?
There's no
I don't know.
I know. There's no reason to watch it. It'd just be to watch a great movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, this is one where I think if you watch the first Guardians, if you've never seen it, it is going to let you, and that would be the best one to watch because that is Groot in his adult form. He does not appear that way again.
And you'll know who the characters are
Yes.
when you see the pre-show.
It helps to
Other than
understand
that,
these characters.
But that's it.
Yeah, but
I mean,
I would put this at like a 2.5 out of 5
yeah.
that you should watch prior
Yeah.
to understand, like, first of all, what are these characters? What is happening with what's going on? There's what's this? Why is this lady green?
Yeah.
Why is there a raccoon talking who's, some sort of
Oh.
genius? What's this Drax guy? Why doesn't he understand sarcasm and wants cake toast? Like, what's happening here? So I do think it helps to understand those characters. And like you said, it's an amazing movie. So yeah, let's move on to Hollywood Studios, and we're going to head to Batuu and Galaxy's Edge. And let's start with Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. Now, this takes place between the happenings of The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. That is where it fits within canon, and that's where it fits within the stories between those two movies.
Well, I think instead of starting with the ride, Rise of Resistance, I think you should start with the land.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Because
Do you
please-
need to know and understand Star Wars
yes,
to enjoy the land? You think so?
I do, because please don't hate me, and please don't send any hate mail my way. I was never a
Magic
big
at mainstmagic.com, and I will forward it right to
No.
Rhonda's personal email. No, I'm kidding.
I've never been a huge Star Wars fan.
I'm not a huge Star Wars fan.
I
enjoy
was a huge Natalie Portman fan. I was a huge
it. Okay.
like what's his name? Obi-Wan Kenobi. What's his real name? That guy.
Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor. I was those fans. So I watched Star Wars because of them.
Okay.
And when I did, going into the land and seeing and knowing and the blue milk, yes, 1000% watch the movies. And I don't know now we can talk about all the rides and what movies you should watch, basically. But I would, yes, have a watching of an understanding. I wouldn't even begin to say which ones to watch. And maybe you could help me with that. But I think having an understanding, because, yeah, I mean, if not, you're just going to walk through and be like, oh, that's cool. That's interesting. But when I walked through it and I already seen all these movies because of these actors and actresses, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in a Star Wars. Like, am I going to see Ewan McGregor right here now? Because
No, you're not, because, and this is where I'll disagree with you,
oh,
because Disney decided, as we talked about before, to not go the Wizarding World route and put you in the movies that you know and love. They decided to try this extra story and try and fit it into the canon of Star Wars. I don't. Now, yes, you might walk into Galaxy's Edge and you might think like, well, where am I? What's going on? Why are there weird creatures in this marketplace? I
guess that's how unknowledgeable I am. That seeing the movies, I don't know. It's another story. I thought it's like
right. So there's zero reason, but you don't walk in and familiarize yourself in general with anything, because none of that exists in the movies. It is a world that exists and that you can understand. Again, imagine. I'm trying to think.
The Millennium Falcon.
Right.
The blue milk.
Right. There are nods to all of the movies, but what I'm saying is that
store.
No, I mean it's
right.
Yeah, here. Okay.
Trying to remember. There's so many.
When I first went into the Wizarding World, I was lost because the characters in the stories were so specific that I felt I should have known more about them, because I could understand it was tying directly to movies that I was unfamiliar with. And I don't think Galaxy's Edge does that. I think Galaxy's Edge, and here's where Disney did a really good job. I think Galaxy's Edge stinks for giant Star Wars fans. It's not what they wanted.
Right.
What I think it's amazing for is people that don't know about Star Wars, because
like me?
Because I don't think you go in and feel lost.
Right.
I mean, even Rise of Resistance sets up what's happening.
Do you think people
Smuggler's
are yelling
Run
right now at us?
Maybe. I think a lot of people would agree. If you're a big Star Wars fan, a lot of giant, huge Star Wars fans, they love it because they get to walk in a Star Wars world, but it's not the one that they're familiar with and they've seen and they want to live inside. You want to walk around Galaxy's Edge and you want to see Darth Vader.
Yeah.
You want to walk around Galaxy's Edge, you can see Chewie and all, you can see Rey. And Disney was so worried about mixing. And again, big Star Wars fans tell me, I think that they catered it. It's so hard to explain. It's like they catered it so much to the legit Star Wars fans because they believed that they would love a new story, but it got lost on them. But at the same time, if you're not a Star Wars fan, I don't know. I don't know where it fits anymore. That's the hard part about it. Now, I think the first three films, episodes 4, 5, 6, are incredible and everybody should watch them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I do think that being familiar with Star Wars and watching some of the movies, it's going to connect you. You know, you're going to understand more who Kylo Ren is. But again, the majority of people know Darth Vader very, very well.
Right.
You know, but they're going to walk in and maybe they know Kylo, maybe they don't. But they're gonna kind of walk in and be like, well, who's this guy?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know who that is. Where's Darth Vader? You know, so it. I mean,
I'm
I don't
sorry,
think
I didn't
Disney,
mean to
I don't
throw
think
you
Dis-
all
No,
off.
but I don't think Disney could win.
Yeah.
You know, if they literally created Tatooine,
Right.
then it's very possible that non-Star Wars fans would have been lost and not enjoyed the land. Right?
Okay.
It's very possible.
Okay.
So I think overall Disney did exactly what they should have done, even though maybe it doesn't always work.
Right.
Rise of Resistance, I think it sets up well enough. I don't know that you need to sit through The Last Jedi, and I definitely wouldn't recommend you sit through Rise of Skywalker. I wouldn't watch either of those unless you have seen every Star Wars movie. If you say,
Okay.
I've never seen a Star Wars movie, oh man, you got to watch The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker before you go to Hollywood Studios, I would never say that.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you're going to be fine. Now, if you're a huge Star Wars fan and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, I didn't really want a new trilogy. I'm OG. Nothing will ever beat episodes 4, 5, 6.
Right.
You know, I got through 1, 2, 3 just because it's set up with Anakin becoming Darth, all of this, you know, and fine. But I really don't want to watch this third trilogy in the Skywalker saga. You know, it's making me mad. Then I'd be like, you know what? Go watch them. You know, it's going to connect you to this more.
Right.
But otherwise, I wouldn't tell people. Now, what I would tell people is to watch episodes 4, 5, and 6, regardless. I do think it will connect you better. I hate that you're not going to walk in and see Han Solo. You know, you're not going to see Luke. You're not going to see Leia.
Right.
And I think that stinks. But, you know, for Millennium Falcon and Smuggler's Run, it does a great job of setting it up. If you're a giant Star Wars fan, it might be time to rewatch some of the Clone Wars and Rebels because of Hondo being in it. And
Okay.
he's from Clone Wars and Rebels. So it might be something you want to revisit if you haven't seen it in a while, or if you were just like, you know what, I never really got into the animated stuff, but I've seen all the live action stuff. Might be something you want to check out, and you can go and watch. You know, you can go look up specific episodes that Hondo is in. But again, I think it sets up really, really well why you're there, why you're flying the Millennium Falcon. You know,
Yeah.
I think it does a good
That's
job.
true.
So I don't know that it's necessary. I do think that people can walk into Batuu and Galaxy's Edge having little to no knowledge of Star Wars and still go, wow, this is really cool. This is impressive.
Okay.
So and maybe that's just me. Toy Story Land. Okay, let's move right on to another full land. Slinky Dog Dash, Mania. We got alien swirling saucers. We've got characters. We've got Roundup,
Right.
Rodeo Barbecue.
But I think you could just watch one.
Watch the first one.
Yep.
And I agree because most every character is introduced in the first Toy
Correct.
Story that you're going to encounter here in Toy Story Land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
And
if
again,
you want to watch two, you know, if you don't want to watch all three of them, you know, maybe just watching 1 and 2 is fine.
yeah, and I'll be honest. I mean, shoot, I know some Disney stuff. I'm pretty good at a lot of it. I really don't
Yes,
know.
you are, honey.
You know, in theory, Toy Story Land would take place during the events of the end of Toy Story 1 or into Toy Story 2 because Andy's still a kid.
Yes.
And Andy created this in his backyard. This is Andy's backyard.
Correct.
So 3 and 4 are not going to relate directly to that. So really, I
Right.
do think 1 and 2 would be the ones to watch, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So Beauty and the Beast live on stage. Look at that. Beauty and the Beast shows up again.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I mean,
and,
it's
and
just
your
a
knowledge of
quick
retelling, right?
retelling of the story and the movie.
Yeah.
Almost like a live action kind of, because, you know, it is literally Beauty and the Beast live on stage.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, again, I think it's something like you watch this. Now, this is something I personally would watch this and then come home and go, oh, I want to watch the live action.
It gets you pumped to watch the movie.
Absolutely.
The live action? After
Yes.
seeing the stage show?
Yes.
Why?
Because they're live people, and I just love the
Yeah.
live action one.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't
want to
watch the
to
animated
the
one.
design of the animated.
I
though.
know, but I don't care.
I actually wish they would have brought this. I wish they would have updated this to the live action version of the way the Beast looks, the way that
That'd
Belle
have been
looks, the way
amazing.
that
Yep.
Lumiere and
It's
Cogworth
still-
and
it's-
Potts and all those look.
It still
Would have been
makes
pretty
me
cool. Yeah.
want to watch it.
Lightning McQueen Racing Academy. I honestly would only go see this if you've already seen Cars and you're a fan.
Yeah.
I wouldn't look at this on a list. Now, if you have young kids, they're probably going to be Cars fans.
Yeah.
So they've already seen them. You've probably already seen them. But I would never go, this Lightning McQueen Racing Academy, I've never seen a Cars movie. Let's sit down and watch them so that we can enjoy this.
How many are there?
Necessary. Cars movies?
Mm-hmm.
3, and then there's all the offshoots, and there's all kinds of other stuff. I mean, it's a big franchise in general.
Right.
But again, I
didn't
think
remember
the
if there was,
basis of the characters will come in Cars 1 and Cars 2.
Oh, yeah.
That you would want to watch. Yeah. Because Cars 2 is the one, and I'm sorry, I've probably seen Cars 1 once or twice. I've seen Cars 2 once, and I've never seen Cars 3. So Cars 2, I believe, is where they go international. And that does introduce and have some of those characters within Lightning McQueen. What about the Muppet Vision 3D? I think that's something of having much more of a general knowledge of the Muppets as opposed to sitting down and watching a bunch of the Muppet Show, or, is this something that you can enjoy?
Oh, yeah. I think you can enjoy, period.
If you had never seen a Muppet in your life, I think you can enjoy Muppet Vision 3D.
I've seen the Muppets in my life because of like commercials, I feel like, and because of
everybody's familiar with the Muppets.
Correct.
That'd be like walking, going to SeaWorld in the Sesame Street area and being like, what's this Big Bird? Never heard of him.
Right.
You've seen Big Bird.
Right.
You know who Kermit is. You know
Correct.
who Piggy is. You know who Fonzie is. You know who Gonzo is.
Animal. I love Animal.
Yeah, Animal. You might not know some of the minor characters,
right.
but you're not going to be lost watching Muppet Vision 3D.
No, and again, please don't hate me. I don't love the Muppets. I never have. I respect them. I appreciate them, but it's not something that I'm gonna go. I'm not.
Right.
A, I'm not gonna pick it.
Right. B,
I'm not gonna like when I watch it with you. If you're like, let's go watch it, I'm like, okay. I don't want to come home and watch a movie of it or whatever.
Yeah.
When you've put it on before, I mean, okay. I'm not like, oh God.
Right.
I'm not like, get me out of the room.
Yeah, but you're not gonna.
But
you're
I'm
not
not
gonna suggest we put it.
Excited to see it, and then I'm like, well, maybe I'll play on my phone or something. Yeah. When Magic Kingdoms came and brought all the Muppets, I didn't
care.
It was one of those things where I didn't get Miss Piggy, which kind of sucks, but it's fine.
I can't stand Miss Piggy. I love the Muppets. I can't stand Miss Piggy. I would have if they killed that character off. I turned her into a pulled pork sandwich. I would have
Jeremy Gray.
Zero regrets of it. I cannot stand that character.
Oh my goodness!
But I love the rest of the Muppets.
Okay.
So, all right. What do we have next? Let's talk.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Epic Stunt Spectacular.
So this is all based off Raiders of the Lost Ark.
And I would watch this before.
I would 100% watch Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Absolutely. Such a great movie.
I would not do it in reverse. Because you're going to ruin the magic of the movies.
Correct.
Not ruin. Okay, yes. I think if you went to the stunt show before watching Raiders of the Lost Ark, you could ruin the magic of the movie. If you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark and then you go see the stunt show, it enhances the magic of the movie. Because while you're watching the movie, you go,
yes,
how the heck did they do that? And then this is like, oh, here's how we did it. Right here in front of you.
Yes.
In a live stunt show with fire and it's from the Boulder to Cairo to fighting the big German on the airstrip.
Yep.
This is Raiders of the Lost Ark,
yep.
and I think it's a must. You agree?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
Okay. We talked. You hinted at this earlier for the first time in forever.
Oh yeah,
Frozen sing-along.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any reason to watch Frozen because this is Frozen.
Yes, it is.
No, other than just Frozen's a good movie and it fills in the holes and the pieces. But I'm saying
100%.
You're not going to be lost at Frozen sing-along,
right? Because
if
it's
you've
super
never seen
cute.
Frozen.
They literally tell the movie within the historical the
Arendelle
historians. Thank you. I'm like, it's not coming out.
We got to untie that tongue before we go live streaming. Which, by the way, we will be bringing you lots of live streams in the Main Street Magic community on Facebook this weekend. So that's where we'll be doing it now.
The royal historians tell the story, and then even though they pretend, not pretend, but they slept through and they didn't really know the end is told correctly, and the movie is basically like it is a shortened movie within that 30 minutes that you're sitting there. And again, you watch this, you go ride Frozen Ever After, and you've never seen Frozen, you go home and watch Frozen 1 and 2 and you're just like, okay, that would be my perfect, I think that would be a perfect like situation where if you've literally never seen Frozen, which I feel like if you have children, you'd be under a rock, but that's okay. You go to Disney World, you go and watch for the first time in forever of the Frozen sing-along. You go to Epcot and you ride Frozen, and then maybe while you're staying in your Disney hotel, you watch Frozen and then Frozen the second one.
I'm going to go back on what I said.
Okay.
You're going to ruin the movie if you see this first. Don't see this. Don't watch the sing-along without having seen Frozen. I'm going to go back on what I said. You're going to ruin the movie. You're going to start Frozen and go, oh, I already know what happens.
That's true.
Hans is the bad guy. I just spoiled it for everyone. You're going to ruin the movie. I just clicked in my head. I'm like, wait, why would you do that to yourself? You're going to ruin the movie.
Okay.
Do not go see this. You know, much like you think, okay, watch Encanto before you go watch this Encanto Celebration.
Why? Do they ruin something?
Well, no, but it's the songs.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, you want to be familiar. So you can go here. I know they put the words on the screen. Everybody's heard Let It Go. But you want to be familiar with the songs. You want to be familiar with the characters. You will ruin the movie if you see
that's
this
true.
first.
So maybe actually stay at your Disney hotel, watch Frozen, then go
watch Frozen in your hotel
one,
if you've never seen it.
So watch Frozen 1, then go Frozen for the first time in forever. Do that, then ride the ride.
Frozen Ever After,
and
then come home and watch Frozen
the second
2.
one. Yep.
There you go. That's the order. We just laid it all out for you. Star Tours: The Adventure Continues. If you want to understand everything going on in this, you have to watch 9 movies and a couple television series. Like,
that's crazy.
You can't. So
that's crazy.
Don't yell at me, Star Wars fans. I'm going to go off the top of my head. I would look at watching specifically for some connections, The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
The Phantom Menace.
Look at you. You're so good because I don't even know any of these.
I'd watch The Force Awakens. And then you could be familiar with Mandalorian and Ahsoka because they've now added those scenes, but I don't know that they're musts.
Yeah.
I would really look at Empire. I'd probably watch Empire the most. I think that's going to give you the most connections where you're going to kind of be like, oh, this is cool. I've seen these things before, some of these characters. But again, it's so random on, which holograms show up, which worlds you visit, like which kind of mission you're technically on.
Right.
But I think if you do Empire, Phantom, and Force Awakens, you'll have enough of a knowledge to understand. Yeah. Or just don't and go have fun.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think you're going to be lost or be mad at the ride in any way, shape, or form. When you get to your room, you go to, I believe it is still channel 30. Watch a couple Mickey shorts. Then go ride Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Yeah,
right?
that's cute. Yeah.
Especially if you are much more where your knowledge lies in the original Mickey and Minnie and all of their friends. If you're looking for that old school animation and not the new shorts animation, you're going to kind of wonder, like, why is this so chaotic? Why do they all look like they've been on benders? Like, what is Goofy smoking? Like, but if you watch the shorts, you're going to have an understanding of this world that it is placing you in now.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to I really do believe the shorts will bring you more enjoyment to Runaway Railway. Do you agree?
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
I do. I actually do. Mm-hmm.
All right. We're going to cap it off with Animal Kingdom.
Okay.
Not a ton here. I think you can pretty much walk into Animal Kingdom with almost zero Disney knowledge and enjoy everything that Animal Kingdom has to offer.
Okay.
First of all, you can ride Cali River Rapids, right? You don't need to watch anything.
Oh,
you can do Expedition Everest. You can do Kilimanjaro safaris.
Correct.
Right? There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of great food, drink. There's so much, just animals. Just go look at animals.
Yeah.
You don't have to watch any movies. What is that? A gorilla? Never heard of it. Look, there's a sign right here. It tells me what a gorilla is. Perfect. You're all set. But if you are going to watch the best show at Disney, Festival of the Lion King, do you think there's a necessity? Does it add enjoyment to have seen The Lion King?
It adds enjoyment,
I'd agree.
I think.
Yeah, I don't think it enhances.
It.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
I don't think it enhances again where you're going to be like, oh, I got to understand this story.
Right.
You know, they're not going to trample anyone to death in front of you. So,
Jeremy,
that'd be part of. They should add that to the show.
No. No.
Yeah, I don't think it's a necessity. I definitely
No.
don't think
Yeah.
it's something that you need to revisit or watch for the first time. What about Finding Nemo and the Big Blue Beyond? That show. Again, we're talking really a
That's
retelling. They've updated it since we have not seen the updated version. I know,
Uh-oh.
that's crazy.
we need to see it.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like then we can't even really talk about it because is it part of the first one?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, this is one I'll go back almost like The Little Mermaid, You're staying in a family suite at Art of Animation in the Nemo section.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're going to go check out Turtle Talk with Crush.
Yeah.
You're going to ride Nemo with friends. You're going to go see this show.
Yep.
Watch Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
I think it'll really
Yeah.
actually add and enhance the value of all of those.
Yeah.
Dinosaur. Has anybody actually seen Dinosaur the movie? It is a movie for people that don't know.
I know you've said that
It
before.
is. We've never watched it.
I know.
I don't think there's.
No.
I don't know anything about the dinosaur movie. I don't know if the dinosaurs talk in it. I don't know anything about the actual movie.
Russ and Claire
Is
had
Dr.
it on
Seeker
at
in
one
it?
point.
I don't know. I've never seen it. I've seen clips of it.
We should watch
I've
it.
never actually watched it.
Okay.
It will not change my enjoyment. But catch Dinosaur if you've never ridden it because its time is limited. So you do want to check it out
Yes.
before it is gone forever. But at that point, you're going to want to watch some more Indiana Jones movies.
Yes.
So they bring that in. It's tough to be a bug. This is another one. Go ahead and catch it while you can.
Yeah, that's super
being
cute.
replaced with a Zootopia.
It is.
Yeah. I don't think you need to know I don't think you need to watch Bug's Life at all to understand or enjoy this show.
I agree.
Yep.
Yep.
You're not going to really have to know who Flick is or Hopper or, any of those. I love Hopper. Again, Stranger Things. Hopper is so great.
Yeah, he is.
I was watching, I think it was, season 3, episode 1 when he has to parent. And it just I've been watching with Kaylin and I'm just looking at her and I'm like, see, that's what life is like. A teenage daughter.
Aw.
Yeah, I don't think it's,
No.
I don't think that's a necessity. Now, here's where we get into, I think, a very interesting area that also goes back to our Galaxy's Edge talk. Flight of Passage, Na'vi River Journey. Do you think you need to have seen Avatar, the first one, to enjoy this land and enjoy these rides?
No, I don't. But I do think after going through the land, you would because I remember watching the movie years and years ago, and then the land
I
was
watched
made
it for the first time before we went on the
You did.
preview.
But then the land was made, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so cool!" Because I've seen the movie and everything, but seeing the movie and then now seeing the second one, Way of Water, I don't think you need to see it to enjoy it. But I think once you enjoy it, and then I think you would want to see the movie.
I agree completely.
So
The land, the rides, especially Flight of Passage, set everything up and tell a story so well.
Yep.
You don't have to have any previous knowledge
correct,
whatsoever.
correct.
But I do think that it is an outstanding marketing and sales tool to get you to want to watch the movie.
Oh, 100%.
Like you just mentioned. So I wouldn't, and you're talking an over 3-hour movie to watch the first one.
Mhm.
Like there's movies on here that I would put way ahead of the list.
Yes.
I would say check out some of the Star Wars stuff
Mhm.
before you put Avatar on your list if you want to get more enjoyment out of these lands.
Right.
So yeah. I mean, hopefully this was helpful, and to be honest, I didn't even intend it this way, but coming in on that poll and that only 50% of the people have been to Walt Disney World, I think actually is very fitting for this episode.
Yeah.
And we didn't even intend or plan it that way, which is kind of crazy. But so then what do we end up with on our list? We're definitely watching Princess and the Frog today. We're putting it on at some point.
Yep.
What else did we land on that we thought
Haunted
would add
Mansion.
to our Haunted Mansion?
The second,
I can watch that year round.
yeah.
Like Nightmare Before Christmas. I want to watch during Halloween. Different things like, Christmas Vacation and a Christmas. Like I want to watch those during the holiday season. I understand that Haunted Mansion is not a Halloween movie.
Oh, so good.
But it is. But I could watch it year round.
Yeah.
I think it is a good year round movie.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy's version, I actually would not watch it outside of the Halloween season.
Yeah. Okay.
But all right, so we'll at least put those two on because we got other stuff to do today.
We got to pack.
We got to pack. We have such an exciting
I have
weekend
to go to
ahead.
the beauty supply, pick up my
Mhm.
stuff for work for next week. so then I can
We're going to make
work.
some shirts for this weekend still.
And we got to take Lacey shopping.
Yep. We got to Be Nice to cast members. Tiana's version shirts are available for sale right now. You can either go to mainstreetshirts.com. You can get them off TeePublic, or you can go to etsy.com /stores/Main Street Shirts. There's a version there as well. There's tanks. So you can check those out. You can get your Be Nice to cast members, Tiana's version shirts. We're going to have some on to hopefully be riding it tomorrow.
Yay!
So I think it just came up for the day around noon.
Okay.
So that is interesting to see how tomorrow goes. So wish us luck all.
Yes.
And then we've got a lot more stuff we're going to bring you. Make sure you go out if you've not already. It is worth, if you are against Facebook and Meta, you go get yourself a Facebook account and you search for the Main Street Magic community and you join. And answer the questions, because if I see it's a brand new account, we're not going to trust you. We're not going to admit you. But you answer those questions as a listener and all, or as just a fan. And we're going to do a bunch of live streams this weekend. So excited to bring you all that. Check that out. Of course, you can plan all this travel. If you don't have a trip to look forward to, start watching these movies now.
Yep.
Plan your trip. MainSTMagicTravel.com. Free quote, free travel services anywhere in the world. Not just Disney, not just theme parks, not just cruises. Anywhere you want to go, check out MainSTMagicTravel.com. Of course, hit the subscribe button. Get brand new episodes Tuesday and Friday, including our review of Tiana's Bayou Adventure, as we rank all of the boat rides in Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando. And then, as a final thing, while you're on the internet, Rhonda and I would be so very thankful if you could please leave us a rating and review.
Because it'll help our show grow.
That's all we've got. We'll see you real soon.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.